So there are a lot of mistakes that I made as a solo founder that I think a lot of people also make today. And I just want to sort of talk about that and hopefully save somebody some time, energy, effort, or money, or all of them, while starting your first like startup or your first SaaS company. And let's just jump straight into it. So the first one is that I tried to build a team way too fast because I was under the impression that that's what I had to do, right? Because investors always, not even just investors, but these startup programs, the startup culture, and anybody looking to get investment money, VC money, whatever, raise money at all for their startup, you're basically told that your team is like one of the most important things. And I don't disagree with that, you know. And some people might even argue that you're not an entrepreneur until you are responsible for, paying people on a payroll and all this other stuff, which I can see the argument for that, but you can obviously have a profitable business and just be a solo founder. And that's kind of something I didn't realize soon enough. And I focused so much on trying to build a team because I thought that's what people wanted me to do or that's what I had to do in order to raise money. But I wasn't I was looking at raising money as more of an end goal instead of like a step or a milestone like in my business. And yeah, I just spent a lot of time trying to get interns, or anybody who worked for me. I paid on contracts that who I actually did pay. So nobody was ever like a full time employee, and it just wasn't necessary. Like, it wasn't necessary that I necessarily had other people on the team. And I just think that my misconception at the time was pretty much just that I had to go have a team because, you know, what if something happens to you and the business goes out of business and all this stuff? And, and those are all great points. Like, that's true. But a lot of times, most early stage founders don't have the resources or the network to go get the team that they need. So, it's typically either unaffordable or just like unattainable. So you can go a lot further faster by yourself. And being a solo founder is completely fine. Like, it's okay, especially when you aren't focused on raising money. You can go focus on doing other things. And part of being a founder is wearing multiple hats, anyways. So the sooner you kind of do the dirty work of all the other people you would need in the future, like the other jobs you would need, the better you are going to be at like managing those roles in the future, or even knowing what to look for in a person who needs to do that job. So yeah, I wouldn't have focused so much on trying to build a team so early on because it's not entirely necessary. Now I know that's not true for every business model, but I still think a lot of people overextend early on, and just don't have the resources, the bandwidth, or the network to really make that to really build the right team they need anyway, which they spend a lot of time, if not money as well, like on that. And then sometimes it ends up really bad, right? Doing business with the wrong people could be worse than just doing certain things by yourself. Bad business deals, right? Legal stuff coming up with other people being involved, or people just like leaving or just like taking off on you and just quitting, basically not doing any work or whatever. All of it can end up being a waste of time depending on who you're doing business with. Yeah, so I just wouldn't rush to go build a team if you're an early stage founder because like it just isn't entirely necessary, and it's not the most important thing that you really need to focus on, I would say. Um, so speaking of that, that would be my next kind of tip is like focusing on just raising money in general. Like focusing on raising money instead of like your customer attraction. I have another live that I did about this recently, but that's another mistake that I just think a lot of people make is they're chasing money. And money can come in like a number of forms. So these like startup programs, these like nonprofit organizations, or these like pitch competitions, like all of that stuff is great, but likely a waste of time for most startups. I'm saying just because when you're an early stage founder, especially if it's your first SaaS business, you probably aren't ready for that. Excuse me, you're probably not ready for that anyway. You're probably not ready to like really go compete on the national level, or probably even on like the state level, to be completely honest, or like regional level for like huge pitch competitions and things like that. You likely just don't have enough traction. You don't have a team yet. So applying for all these things and trying to perfect your pitch deck and all that stuff just to go out here and focus all this time on raising money is it's not the best use of your time, I feel. Because again, like the product development, whether that's an actual product, a service, whatever, making your business and your operations run smooth and actually make money, just doing that, trying to build a well-oiled machine operationally is such a hard and challenging thing in itself. And even if you have that going well for you, marketing is a whole nother beast that you have to tackle. And these things, unless you have like some sort of like amazing background in all of these things already, and you know how to do it all already, these things take huge, like dedicated chunks of time, energy, and effort and thought, and to do them very well, right? And it's the backbone of the business, and it's gonna help you determine like how much you're really going to be able to make with your business. And I think that would be such a better place to spend your time as a founder, especially when you're like early on in your business, or especially your entrepreneurial kind of career and journey. It is so much better to just focus on the business and the business running well and the business making money than it is trying to apply to all these different pitch competitions and programs and yeah, like accelerators, all these different things that kind of aren't too different from one another, honestly. And they're all gonna kind of send you down a certain path that might not be right for you. So, nonetheless, focusing on the product development and the business side of things and the operational side of things anyway is going to make it easier for you to get into those things and to again attract investors to you, or for you to win pitch competitions when you actually have a supporting business model that makes money underneath you, that you have a good understanding of, a market that you understand really well. Um, so that's just something that I think people could spend a lot more time doing, like the business side, operational side of things, as opposed to just trying to raise money, cold outreaching investors and pitching people and traveling around the world trying to get into accelerators and startup programs. Like, yeah, I would just focus on the business, and just doing that really well, and just fine tuning and optimizing all your business processes as much as possible. The last thing I was gonna say in this video is like people trying to avoid doing the dirty work in their business, and specifically the tech dirty work. So there are a lot of founders that I see and talk to now who aren't technical founders, but they want to go start a SaaS company, which is totally fine because we have the tools now with like no code and AI, right? We have so many different tools that can help us to build SaaS companies with no technical background or technical experience, especially coding experience, right? But at the same time, there are so many people who still, feel like they need a CTO or somebody who is, the technical co-founder who can go and do all the things, like build all the ideas out, and they're just the visionary. And while I'm not saying it could never work, you just have to think about like, what is it really worth spending your time like going out looking for this person who you probably have like little to no rapport with or no chemistry with. You've never worked on something with them before. They're basically a stranger, and now you're trying to ask them to work for free essentially to build something for you. Like, is it more worth it for you to spend your time doing that, or is it more worth it to actually try to like dig in and figure things out and just learn what you don't know, right? So you're gonna hit roadblocks. It's gonna be hard when you're trying to build a SaaS company or your first digital business or digital product, and you don't have any technical background, coding background, or any of that, and you're trying to figure out how to like build your first app, right, or build your first MVP and get people on it. There's gonna be a ton of questions that you have, and you're gonna get stuck. You're gonna hit roadblocks. But here's the thing: the person that you're paying or that you're trying to pay, or the person that you're trying to recruit to get to work on your team, they're going to hit the same like obstacle. Like, not to say that you're gonna get stuck at the same exact points, but there's always things that people don't know about when they go into building a technical project, whether that's a software engineer, a product person, a CEO. Like, there's going to be questions. You're going to get, you're going to run into things need to be debugged or troubleshooted. There's always going to be things you have to read about to understand just how the tech works in general. So instead of spending your time trying to find somebody else to do all the like tech dirty work for you, I think a lot of early stage founders who are trying to start SaaS companies or SaaS startups could make way better use of their time by literally just doing the dirty work. Start learning and reading about, tools that could help you build your MVP. Watch videos, learn about all the technical stuff that you don't know anything about. Like, learn about APIs, learn about database modeling, learn about data relationships, basically. Learn about how back-end and front-end development works. Learn about no-code tools. Like, just go learn. Like, dive in. Like, yes, you don't know all of these things, and I'm not saying you need to be an expert or you're going to be an expert, but I think it's a better use of your time to really understand how the tech works, so that, again, when you have somebody that comes in on your team, first of all, they'll respect the fact that you went and tried to build something on your own first, even if you didn't have a background. It doesn't have to be great at all or perfect at all, but like, people will respect you actually trying, right? Even if you like glue something together that barely works, that is still better than asking somebody to do all of the work for you. And I just think a lot of founders who don't code or who've never built a SaaS product before or digital business before are really quick to like think they have to go find and recruit somebody, when at the end of the day, if you can't even speak that person's language, really, like it, you really have to ask yourself, like, what is in it for the other person to really work with you when you can't really understand what you're asking them to do. You can't speak their language. You don't have a background in this. You can't do it yourself. You can't afford to pay them, right? You really got to ask yourself, like, what's the best way to spend that time in the early stages? And I think just diving in technically is going to benefit you long term, and it's going to make a lot more people, I feel like, willing to either work with you when you have a working prototype or a working MVP that you've built yourself, to try to overcome that technical hurdle of not having that person on the team. It's a different level of motivation than somebody who's just waiting for somebody else to kind of do all the technical dirty work and doesn't understand what they're asking them to do. So those are just my three things those are mistakes that I've made before, and I just think other people could like benefit from not making those same mistakes early in their like startup journey. So let me know what y'all think about that down in the comments below. What else would you add to this list? What other things do you think people waste time doing early stage, pre-revenue or like really early idea stage, founder journey, especially for like first time founders or solo founders? Like, let me know down in the comments. Also, if you're new here, my name is Darian, and I'm a product manager, a startup founder, and a former software engineer myself. I have a new startup that I'm working on, and I'm going to be announcing it really soon, so make sure y'all stick around for that and be on the lookout for that, because I'm really excited to talk about that. But otherwise, check out the description box down below, and all my free resources are there, all my links are there, so check everything out. And if you enjoy content about like tech, entrepreneurship, and career-based stuff, then you're in the right spot. So hit subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next video, all right? Peace.